So in this video I wanted to talk about a game called Xenoblade Chronicles. So this game was released on the Wii in I think 2011, but it was re-released. It was given the remake treatment for Nintendo Switch in 2020, and I wanted to talk about why this is a good game. So this game is about it's about like a robotic takeover of the planet Bionis. So they're called the Mechon. They're like these robots that want to take over the Bionis and take over the world. So this guy Shulk, he gets his hands on the Monado. The Monado is like this legendary blade, and it's like one of the only blades that can cut through the Mechon armor, and it also gives the wielder the ability to see into the future and like stop what's going to happen. So one of the big reasons why this is a good game is that I feel like near the beginning of the game they really get audiences to sympathize with Shulk, because what it does at the beginning of the game is that it kind of shows the relationship that Shulk has with this girl named Fiora. They're just like really good friends, and they're really close to one another, and I think this is like a really good thing to do at the beginning of a story. You just kind of show the type of relationship that he has with someone. So the reason this is a good game is that Shulk is motivated to fight evil because he wants to protect the people he cares about. So what happens is that Fiora gets kidnapped by the Mechon. So what happens is the Mechon invades. So the Mechon invades Shulk's village and kills a bunch of people, and they kidnap Fiora, and this is what really gets Shulk to realize that he needs to fight against these robots, because he really starts to understand how evil these robots are when they start to threaten the people he cares about. So he goes on a quest to stop the Mechon, and like his friend Rain goes with him. So Rain is like this goofy guy who's like cracking jokes a lot, and like he's also, I think he's like really passionate about like fighting against the Mechon, and I guess he's kind of like cocky and, like arrogant. So I guess Rain is also like this guy who's like quick to anger, you know, when the Mechon like hurt the people that he loves. He's just like he's like the one that really gets mad and really starts to make the threats against these Mechon, and Shulk is like the one who wants him to keep a level head, because like I guess Shulk's like this kind of like this calm guy who wants to keep a level head and wants to like strategize against the Mechon instead of just going in guns blazing. And I think this contrast in their personalities makes the game pretty interesting throughout the story. So I wanted to talk a bit about Sharla. Sharla is like this girl from another colony, and what happens is that they're kind of like in the same situation as Shulk and Rain. So what happened is that the Mechon invaded Sharla's colony, and Sharla fled the colony with her brother and kind of just laying low until Shulk and Rain come along, and they say that they can fight the Mechon and like kind of save the villagers. So I wanted to talk more about Sharla. I think Sharla's like a really strong female character in this story, and the reason for this is I want to talk about Gado. Gado is kind of like a father to Sharla. He like trained her in combat, and basically he's the reason that she's such a good fighter. And when the Mechon killed Gado, Sharla becomes really determined to avenge him. So I think this was good for the plot, because it just really drives Sharla to like do what she's doing, fighting the Mechon. So Shulk is like the one keeping Rain calm and kind of stopping him from getting really mad at these Mechon. And Sharla's a bit different. She's like kind of the one making fun of Ryan, like making fun of how overly confident he is. And I think this type of relationship made this story interesting in this game. So I think this is a good game because I think the characters are pretty charismatic, likable people, and like they have really good chemistry with one another. So I also wanted to talk about Dunban. Dunban is like this, he's like this very skilled warrior, and I think a lot of his dialogue is about like, a lot of it is about like instilling courage to the party. So I think he's a pretty valuable member of the team. And I want to talk about Melia as well. She's like the princess of like the High Entia. So it's like different from the Homs. The High Entia are like have a more advanced society, I guess. And like they're just more developed, I guess. They got a kingdom where the Homs mostly just dwell in like small villages. So IGN says that Melia is one of the weakest characters, and I think I understand what they're saying, because like the only thing you can really say about Melia is that she's a little more reserved than the other people, but she definitely has like a feisty side, and that's basically all I have to say about her. So there's also this creature called Ricky. He's like this little fur ball of a creature, and I think he adds a lot of the comedic relief in the story because all this serious stuff is happening, and Ricky is still like kind of this goofy guy throughout, no matter what's happening. I think a big part of what makes Ricky funny is that he's like always complaining about stuff like being hungry or tired, and I think this adds a lot of the comedy in his character and in the story. So I wanted to talk about one of the villains in the game, Dixon. So he's a Homs, and originally you think that he's on your side, but in the end it turns out that he has his allegiance with the Mechon, and so Dixon's like this kind of this malignant guy, so he's like this betrayer, and like he's kind of like this cocky, arrogant guy who as it turns out, you can't really trust this guy because he's a betrayer. So I wanted to talk about what happens in the end. So what happens is that Shulk kills Zizram. So Zizram's like the ultimate evil. Oh wait. So Shulk kills Zizram, and he's given the opportunity to like take his powers and use it for good, but like he didn't want to risk becoming like Zizram, and he didn't want to risk the power getting to his head, and he didn't want to risk becoming evil, so he forfeited the opportunity to become a god, because in the end in the end, he kind of realizes that he doesn't need power to be happy. He just needs his friends. So I realized I didn't talk much about Fiora's personality. She's basically just this really nice, cute, likable girl, basically. And I want to talk about what happens to her. She becomes So what happens is that the Mechon put her into like a robotic body, and they kind of turn her against the Homs, but Shulk is able to convince her that this isn't who she is, and that she's a good girl, and that she wants to protect the Homs and protect the people she really cares about. And what this does is that it changes her heart, and she ends up running away with Shulk. So I really like this part of the game because it really shows that no matter what the Mechon do to her, it can never really take away how much she cared about her people, and they can never really take away like the bond she had with Shulk and how much she cared for him. So this is why I think this is a good part of the game, and it's one of the big reasons why I think Xenoblade Chronicles was such a good game and had such a memorable story.